The village of Umudu was a place where the sun kissed the earth with golden warmth, where the air was rich with the scent of ripe palm fruits, and the songs of birds filled the morning sky. It was a village blessed by the gods, where laughter echoed through the thatched huts, and the people thrived under the guidance of the elders. Among the many homes in Umudu, one shined with extraordinary joy: Nneka's compound. Nneka, a beautiful and kind-hearted woman who her husband died just after she got pregnant, had just given birth to her first child, a strong and healthy baby boy named Ifeanyi, meaning nothing is impossible with God. For many moons, Nneka had prayed and fasted with her husband. Unfortunately, he died before he could see this happen. They had wept at the shrine of the gods, begging for the cry of a child in their home. And when Ifeanyi finally arrived, the entire village celebrated. The drums beat late into the night, women danced with joy, and men drank from their palm wine gourds, praising the gods for their kindness, wishing Obinna was alive to see his son. But in the midst of all the joy, there was one person whose heart was not at peace. Hidden behind a veil of false smiles was Adaku, Nneka's childhood friend. Adaku had been Nneka's closest companion since they were little girls, running through the narrow village path, plucking mangoes and whispering secrets under the moonlight. But fate had been cruel to Adaku. While Nneka now held a beautiful baby in her arms, Adaku had nothing. No husband, no child, only the growing whispers of the village women who gossiped behind her back. She had masked her bitterness well, pretending to share in Nneka's joy. She came to visit, bringing gifts of palm oil and roasted fish, watching as Nneka cradled her baby, kissing his tiny fingers. But inside her heart burned with an unholy fire of jealousy. Every time Ifeanyi let out a soft cry, Adaku's hatred grew deeper. She could not understand why fate had favored Nneka and had forsaken her. As the days passed, a dark thought began to take root in her mind. A thought so vile, so wicked, that even the gods would turn their faces away in disgust. One fateful night, the village was silent, save for the distant hoot of an owl and the rhythmic croaking of frogs. Nneka, exhausted from the day's work, had finally drifted into a deep sleep, her baby nestled in his bamboo crib beside her. In the shadows of the night, Adaku moved like a ghost, slipping into Nneka's heart. Her heart pounded against her ribcage as she reached into the crib, her fingers trembling as they brushed against the soft skin of the innocent child. Ifeanyi stared, but did not wake. With one final glance at Nneka, Adaku lifted the baby into her arms, pressing him close to her chest. Her mind screamed at her to stop, but the darkness in her soul urged her forward. She moved swiftly through the sleeping village, her feet barely making a sound on the dirt path. The river was not far. Just beyond the old mango tree lay the Nwangele River, a water known to swallow even the strongest of swimmers. Adaku's breath came in short gasps as she approached the river bank. Moonlight danced upon the water's surface, as if the gods themselves were watching. She stood at the edge, staring into the dark depths. The water whispered secret, the wind howled through the trees, and the guilt in her heart clawed at her like a wild animal. But it was too late for guilt. With a final deep breath, she lifted Ifeanyi high above her head. "I should have been the one blessed with a child," she hissed. "Not you, Nneka, not you." And with those words, she let go. The baby tumbled from her grasp, his tiny body swallowed by the darkness of the river. For a moment, the world stood still. The wind stopped, the trees held their breath, and the river remained eerily silent. Then, suddenly, a loud roar of thunder ripped through the sky. A strange force surged through the river, its waters churning violently. The ground beneath Adaku's feet trembled, as if the gods themselves had been awakened. Something was happening. Adaku's heart lurched as she took a step back. Her breath raged. She had expected the river to accept her offering, to wash away the evidence of her sin. But instead, the river came alive. The water did not swallow the child, it carried him away. A powerful current swept Ifeanyi downstream, further and further away, until he disappeared into the misty horizon. And just like that, he was gone. Adaku stumbled back, her hands shaking. Had the river rejected her crime? Had the gods intervened? A chill ran down her spine. She had done the unthinkable, yet a deep fear crept into her heart. What if the gods were watching? What if the river would one day return the child? Shaking off the thought, she straightened herself. She had to be strong. No one could ever know what she had done. By the time she returned to the village, her face was carefully composed, her lips forming a trembling smile. The waters of Nwangele River churned violently, as if enraged by the wicked act that had just taken place. The sky above Umuduru remained eerily dark, the moon hidden behind thick, heavy clouds. A deep silence followed, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl and the rustling of palm fronds, swayed by the night wind. But beneath the river's surface, something extraordinary was happening. The gods had not turned away. As the helpless infant sank into the cold depths of Nwangele, the river refused to claim him. Instead, its current shifted unnaturally, wrapping around the child like invisible arms, lifting him, cradling him, protecting him. A sudden powerful wave surged forward, carrying the baby downstream at an astonishing speed. The water, once fierce and turbulent, became gentle around him, guiding him away from the place of betrayal, away from the woman who had cast him into the abyss. The gods had seen everything. Far beyond the village, where the river narrowed and twisted through sacred lands, an ancient grove stood untouched by time. It was a place few dared to enter, a land whispered about in fearful reverence. It belonged to Abaranwai, the enigmatic high priestess of the gods. Many in Umuduru spoke of her with awe. Some said she was over 100 years old, but had the appearance of a woman in her prime. Others believed she was not entirely human, that she had been chosen by the spirits to walk between the realms of man and the divine. On this particular night, Abaranwai sat outside her sacred hut, staring into the darkness, her senses attuned to the whispers of the spirits. She had felt a disturbance, a ripple in the balance of the world. The gods were speaking, and she listened. Then she heard it, a faint cry carried by the wind. Rising gracefully to her feet, she followed the sound, her bare feet making no noise against the earth. The cry grew louder as she reached the river's edge, and then she saw him, a tiny bundle floating gently on the water, bathed in an ethereal glow. The river had delivered him to her feet, untouched by harm, protected by forces beyond human comprehension. Abaranwai knelt, lifting the infant into her arms. The moment her fingers brushed against his soft skin, a vision flashed before her eyes, a woman's tear-streaked face, a crime committed in secret, a child meant for greatness. She gasped, clutching the boy to her chest. The gods had spared him, but his journey was far from over. Gazing up at the sky, she whispered, "The river rejected him. The spirits have claimed him, but destiny will return him." She took him into her hut, wrapped him in a thick cloth made from the finest woven raffia, and laid him on a bed of soft animal hide. As the child drifted into a peaceful sleep, Abaranwai sat beside him, deep in thought. The gods had not only saved this little child, they had chosen him. And when the gods choose, no force on earth can stand in their way. The morning sun rose lazily over Umuduru, casting golden hues over the village huts. Birds chirped from treetops, and the scent of fresh dew lingered in the air. The village stirred to life as women swept their compounds and men prepared for the day's work. But in one household, there was no peace. A piercing scream shattered the morning calm. "Nwamo! Nwam! My child! Where is my child? Umuduru no no kwaye! Alumuduru e!" Nneka stumbled out of her hut, her hair disheveled, her wrapper barely holding onto her trembling frame. Her face was streaked with tears, her voice hoarse from screaming. Villagers rushed towards her compound, drawn by the distress in her cries. "Ogini, Ogini." "What is it?" one of the elders, Pa Okori, asked. "My son, Ifeanyi, my son, Ifeanyi Nwamu, he's gone, he's gone. I slept with him beside me, but when I woke up, he was gone." Nneka clutched her chest, as if the pain would crush her. The crowd murmured in confusion. A missing child? In Umuduru? Such a thing had never happened before. "Aru! Aru!" Among the villagers who gathered, Adaku pushed to the front, her face twisted in a mask of false concern. She rushed to Nneka's side, wrapping her arms around her trembling friend. "Nneka, take heart. We will find him. The gods will not let such evil happen to you," she wailed, her voice thick with deception. But inside, her heart was pounding, not with fear, but with the desperate need to maintain her lie. The search began immediately. The entire village was thrown into confusion. The Umunna searched every corner of the compound. Men scoured the forest, and the women wailed, calling upon the gods to reveal the whereabouts of the missing child. The village Dibia Ezegu, was summoned. He arrived, his face lined with wisdom and mystery, his staff adorned with cowrie shells that jiggled with every step. He stood before Nneka's hut, his gaze deep and knowing. "The spirits are restless," he muttered. "This child, Ifeanyi, is not dead." A sharp gasp spread through the crowd. Nneka fell to her knees, clutching at the Dibia's feet. "Where is he? Dibia, Biko, tell me, where is my son? Where is my son? He's all I have. He's all I have. You said he's alive. Where is he now? Bring him back to me, please." Dibia Zego took a deep breath and began to chant, his voice low and commanding. The cowries on his staff trembled, the air thick with unseen energy. Suddenly, he jerked back, his eyes rolling back and white. His voice changed, deep, distant, and unnatural, as though something else was speaking through him. "This child is not dead," he declared, "but he has been taken by forces beyond our reach. He is hidden. The gods have intervened." Gasps echoed through the crowd. If the gods had intervened, then this was no ordinary disappearance. Would they return him? The Dibia staggered as he returned to himself, his breath coming in short gasps. His gaze swept over the crowd, sharp and knowing. Adaku, standing in the crowd, felt her knees weaken. The gods had intervened? Could it be that Ifeanyi was not dead after all? Had the river rejected her offering? She clenched her fist, willing herself to remain calm. Ifeanyi was gone, lost forever in the depths of Nwangele River. No one would ever know the truth. But still, the Dibia's words unsettled her. Over the following days, Nneka refused to eat, refused to sleep. She roamed the village like a spirit, calling Ifeanyi's name, her voice raw with grief. She went to the river, kneeling at its bank, sobbing, begging the gods to return her child. The villagers whispered, "She must have offended the gods," one woman murmured. "Yes," another agreed. Why else would her child disappear without a trace? Adaku sat among them, feeding the rumors like dry wood to a burning flame. She sighed, shaking her head in false sorrow. "I feel for Nneka, truly. But the gods do not take a child without reason. Maybe she has done something to offend them. The women around her nodded, their faces grim. Perhaps she has. One agreed. The gods are never unjust. The whispers spread like wildfire. And soon, the same people who had danced at Ifeanyi's naming ceremony began to distance themselves from Nneka. They looked at Nneka with pity and fear. Was she cursed? Had she done something to anger the gods? Nneka felt the shift, the stares, the hushed voices. She was losing her child and losing her people. And all the while, Adaku stood by, pretending to be her closest friend, pretending to mourn, while inside she rejoiced. She had taken what Nneka loved most, and she had gotten away with it, or so she thought. Because what Adaku did not know was that the gods were